more, I want to bring in Jennifer Gommerman. She is a professor of immunology at the University of Toronto. Professor, welcome. Great to have you with us. So, as we mentioned, the FDA is expected to approve the Moderna vaccine for emergency use in the U.S. very soon. Are there any important differences between the two vaccines?
The differences between the two vaccines are relatively minor. They are both mRNA-based vaccines, so the way they were made is very similar. And they're both delivered to the patient in the same way through the intramuscular injection in the arm, 2 doses, in one case 21 days apart, and in the case of the Moderna, 28 days apart. One of the big differences, however, is the storage of the vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine is stored at very ultra-low temperatures in -80 freezers, for example, whereas the Moderna vaccine can be stored at -20. So this is a different type of storage situation between the two vaccines.
And so what about people who've already been infected with COVID-19? I mean, we have millions in this country, right? So do they still need the vaccine? And are those who are fully recovered from the virus better protected than those who get vaccinated?
That's a really good question. So I think people that have had the coronavirus should get this vaccine for a bunch of reasons. First of all, a lot of people think they had the coronavirus but never got confirmation of that. And so for sure, those people, it's impossible to know for certain whether they had the virus unless their antibodies are tested. So that's a really good reason to err on the side of caution and get the vaccine. The second reason is that when you are exposed to the virus naturally, we know that we make a good immune response, but there's quite a bit of variability in that immune response, as much as 200-fold across subjects. And because of that variability, it's unclear whether everyone is going to make a really super good immune response to the virus. So to be extra sure, I would recommend getting the vaccine. And there's really no downside to the vaccine because it's really basically boosting your immune response if you have seen the virus before. And indeed, the CDC does recommend that people who have had the virus still get vaccinated.
And of course, getting vaccinated protects you from getting the virus, but does it also protect others from you? In other words, if you're vaccinated, you can no longer spread the coronavirus. Is that right?
Well, the short answer is we don't know for sure yet. The Moderna and Pfizer trials were designed to test whether people would be protected from getting sick, from getting symptoms of COVID-19. And in that respect, both vaccines performed way beyond our expectations in the realm of 90 to 94% efficacy. So in truth, the trials didn't answer that question. That's a very difficult thing to measure. We think that we know that it doesn't take a lot of antibody in our blood to neutralize the virus. And so there should be some protection in the upper airways for people who have been vaccinated, but we just don't know how much because you're getting that vaccine in the arm. You're not getting it in the upper airways. And so time will tell whether transmission rates are dropping as a consequence of widespread vaccination. For that to happen, we really need herd immunity, and we really need to see those transmission rates drop way down. And if they do, then I think we know that we have better protection within our society. But we shouldn't assume that the vaccines are going to prevent transmission altogether.
And Professor, the FDA is saying that the current vials of the Pfizer vaccine can be stretched further, potentially expanding the nation's supply by millions of doses. Explain why that's happening and why this is just being discovered.
Well, in terms of why it's happening, that's really a manufacturing issue. And I know in our lab, when we do experiments, we always have a little bit of extra to fill up those syringes effectively. And so if there's stuff left over in the vial, that's good news. And certainly that's being noticed up here in Canada, where I am. And people are taking advantage of that and stretching those vaccines a little further. But why it's being discovered right now, unfortunately, I can't say that. But it's good news.
A little bit of extra good news for sure. Professor Jennifer Gommerman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.